compass in us. It didn't just drop us to wander our way through earth. There's an internal compass we all have in every one of us. And the problem is, for some people, it takes a long time for them to find their compass. Some 20 years, some 50 years. But I was lucky. I found my compass pretty early. In fact, when I think about it, I think I was born with my compass in my hand. So I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be involved in the arts. I knew I loved to draw. I can't remember the first time I ever drew. It's like something I started doing from when I was very young. I can't even remember my first experience drawing. So it was either you were a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, a teacher, or a law enforcement, maybe a soldier or a policeman. And I didn't want to be any of these things. But I grew up in a house where they were very intellectual, and I was very artistic. And those two things then were like oil and water. A lot of people look down at the art. So my gift in art wasn't ever rewarded or wasn't ever praised. It was always looked down upon and said, stop doing that. Go and read. Go and do your math. Go and do your science. And so I had to repress it. I had to repress that gift in art, the use of colors and fonts, and I had to repress it. And something happens when you repress something that you want to do. Two things can happen. It's either you become depressed. That's an expression of suppressing something that you really want. You can become depressive, or you can become destructive. So one is active, one is passive. So I chose the active part of it. I wasn't depressive, I became destructive. So I was always getting in trouble at home and in school, always spoiling one thing or the other. I was acting out because I wasn't doing what I really wanted to do with my life. And this went on from primary school to secondary school. And at a point, I developed a speech impediment. I used to stutter a lot. A lot of people that went to primary school with me will not believe I'm talking to you like this, because I couldn't go through a sentence without stuttering. It was terrible. And they thought it was a physical, natural thing, but they didn't understand that it was a mental thing, it was an emotional thing. And that was because I wasn't expressing what I really wanted to do. So I went to secondary school and primary school, and I was doing very badly in school because I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested in maths or English or social studies or moral instruction or all those things. I was just interested in drawing and being creative. So whenever I went to school, I just tuned out. I turned off. I was there in person, but my mind was far away. So I never came last, but I always came very close to the person that was last in class. And that was me. And that occurred for 12 years of secondary and primary school. And then I went to university, still with this turmoil of not knowing what I wanted to do, or trying to fit in. And I went to study architecture, which was closest to what I wanted to do in terms of drawing, but it wasn't fluid enough. I knew I wanted to do more with graphics. But my parents didn't understand that. The society didn't understand that. Nobody did graphics as a job. It was something we do as a hobby. And I can't tell you how many times my parents told me, you don't do that as a job. You can never feed your family with that. So I went and studied architecture, and I didn't do well. I finished with a 2-2, and I'm still surprised till today. I still believe that they messed up my result. Because, yeah. And I tell my wife that if they call me any day and tell me, Mr. Tola, we messed up your result, you finished with a pass, so don't be surprised, because I'm expecting 10 times soon. That's how terrible the academic experience was. And it was a far contrast from my dad, who finished with the first class. And he always wanted me to be academic like him. But when I finished university, I was in this place where I didn't even know what I wanted to do. You know how Nigerian universities can be? You go in thinking you know what you want, you come out more confused. And I came out, I was more confused about what I wanted to do and if I had any value. And I was almost begging for jobs. It's the way it is now, right now. Graduates are more with their tails in between their legs. And I remember a company came from Canada, and they were having something like this. Someone gave me a flyer and reminded me of that. They were helping people to go to Canada then. Then nobody was going to Canada. Canada was actually coming here to beg people, believe it or not. So I went there in Transcorp in Hilton, and I wasn't so interested because it was school. And at that point, I'd come to hate school. But my mother told me, go. You might find something that you can do for your masters. You know how we do now? We finish from secondary school, and next thing is masters if you don't get a job. If you don't get a job, then go and do your PhD. If you don't get a job, then go and keep learning till you find something. So I went to this place, and there was this white woman, and she was sitting on a chair like that, and I went to talk with her. And she was a teacher in a Canadian school. And she told me something that day that a teacher had never told me before. I've never heard it from a teacher before. Because I was expecting her to say, what did you study? Are you science inclined or art inclined? How many credits do you have? But she asked me one question that day. And she said, what do you enjoy doing? And I was so taken aback by that question that she had to ask me twice. And I said, I enjoy drawing. I enjoy using colors. I enjoy creating stuff. And she said something, said, okay, we'll find something for you to do that you would enjoy. So it wasn't about what I was qualified for. It was about something I enjoyed. And she found a course for me called Computer Interactive Multimedia. And she said, this is the course. And I feel you enjoy it. And she told me everything I would get to do if I did that course. And it had everything I wanted to do. And I went back home and I told my parents, and they didn't want a computer interactive multimedia. It didn't make any sense to them. It wasn't medicine, it wasn't law, it wasn't architecture, it was too much of a mouthful for them. It was multimedia, it was digital age, so they didn't understand. They were coming from the analog age. And for a while they kicked against it, and I said I wanted to go and do this thing. And you know, one thing I would always appreciate my parents for is, even though they didn't understand it, they sponsored it. And they allowed me to go and do it. And for the first time in my life, I did well in school. I was eager to go to class. You see, in our class, I would be sitting where he is sitting right now. I wanted to be in front. But when I was in Nigeria, I wanted to be behind, where that lady in red is sitting. That was not even far enough behind for me, where the lecturers could not see me. But just unconsciously, I wanted to be in class because it wasn't class anymore. It was fun. It was actually fun. And I did well. And I wasn't even trying to do well. I was just trying to express myself. And when we graduated, I was given the president, I was on the president's honor roll. And my mom came for the graduation, and she was proud and confused at the same time, because she was like, she had never experienced that. Nobody has ever given this guy an award for anything. And it happened. And you know, when I came back to Nigeria and started my company, my parents were still confused about if I could make money in Nigeria from it. And every time they would come and say, are you sure you can feed your family with this thing? That word keeps going in my head. Are you sure you can feed your family? And I told them, yes, I can do well with this thing, because people need this thing. And I came back and people needed to build websites then, do logos, do brochures. And I started doing it. And I had so many clients that it was ridiculous. And my parents didn't understand, because then I didn't even have an office. I was working from my room. And they didn't understand that I could be inside the room working on my computer and making money. It didn't make sense to them. It didn't add up. For them, you had to wear a suit, tie, go out, sweat, come back and be tired at the end of the day. But you see, I found my compass early. I didn't get to use it early, but the moment I got to use it, I was able to talk. That speech impediment went. I was happier. And I'm able to feed my family. I have 3 kids now, I have a wife, and I'm taking care of them. You see, so one thing you must know is that we always have an inner compass. And a lot of times, most of us are in schools here, and one thing I want you to know is that you must listen to kids. Kids know more than you give them credit for. They have that internal compass. They know the future clearer than you do. So when your child tells you, I want to do this, you must lean in rather than sitting back. Lean into them and ask more questions and do more research, and you will have happier, more productive adults in future.